forgiveness it's born out of love. It's aligned with our nature, which is love.
That's true.
The notion of letting go is really the path of forgiveness. It's a letting go. It's a surrender of what we believed, or the story or the narrative that we keep telling ourselves, because it's usually the story that keeps us locked or bound in that energy. Hurt people. And we've all done that.
We're so happy to be back with our audience, and this episode will be a special one. This will be a big one. This will encompass a lot of the kind of pulp of life. Our concept was forgiveness, which then breaks into how to say I'm sorry, into apologies, atonement, making amends, and then the sort of upshot emotions of those, like guilt, shame, anger, resentment. All of those are part of the conversation. And then layer that on top of that, some of the modern day phrases, phenomena that we all just use so casually now that really are only recent things, like cancel culture.
Yes.
I think that has a huge piece. When you talk about forgiveness, that's some of the implications that we're dealing with. And then, of course, baby reindeer. I want to talk about baby reindeer in this conversation. So, Sage Robbins, when I say some of those words, forgiveness at its heart, what state does that put you in? What does that conjure up for you?
Gosh, I love that we're having this conversation, because I believe it's from my own experience. When I look at the world stage right now and what's transpiring, and even the mental health phenomena, I don't know if that's the right word, but there's certainly a lot of attention on mental health and mental well-being. It's my experience that through forgiveness is a path to coming home. And so you can look at forgiveness, at least I do, is one of the pathways from bound to unbound within. And that from that place, life is all possible. Because we're in alignment, with our true nature, with love. Forgiving is, forgiveness is, it's born out of love. It's aligned with our nature, which is love.
That's true. Well, that's beautiful. And again, just as we kind of get into the flow of the conversation, I would invite our audience to take a moment and just think about whether it's something personal that you are asking for forgiveness from, a situation, an event of the past, someone that you might need to forgive. And also it's, we were walking out here to the studio just moments ago and from the house, and something like this morning, we had a little bit of a wild morning. And so even something like, I often think of forgiveness as, this person, I need to forgive this person, or I need to ask for forgiveness from this person. But it's also like just letting go, I think, like forgiving what happened this morning, to walk in here to the studio and be like, hey, I have this to do now. So whatever just happened, I almost need to like forgive. And I just think that word has so much meaning personally, human to human, and just about the letting go of past, of regrets, of things you wish you went differently than they actually did, than reality itself.
And the notion of letting go is really the path of forgiveness. It's a letting go. It's a surrender of what we believed, or the story or the narrative that we keep telling ourselves, because it's usually the story that keeps us locked or bound in that energy. And so for those of you listening, maybe you can just connect to where are you feeling resistant with somebody, or feeling a space and time that it could be time to let go. We're not here to tell you right from wrong, or this is just one path. This is just a conversation, and we're sharing our experience. So thank you for your willingness and openness, because it's in that space that it's all possible. And from my own experience, as I let go, forgiveness and letting go are interchangeable. I feel at home inside myself. And when I don't, I feel anxiety. I feel stress. I feel that bound energy. And that feels, just for me personally, it feels insincere. And by the way, it's a day-to-day process. We all miss and can go blind. And, in a moment, we can, not communicate in our truest self in a moment if we're rushed or stressed or stacked. Or we were talking last night and saying, hurt people. And we've all done that. There's nobody, I don't even know that it's about who's guilty or who's right or who's wrong. It's actually really more about inner freedom. It's more about inner, a coherence within. And it's less about what somebody did and more about the letting go.
Right.
Because it is the past, as you mentioned.
And I feel like we have to say just right out of the gates that if you're listening to this and it's like, well, if there's certainly different grades
of course.
Of what would you even call it?
Well,
transgressions or
trauma.
Yes.
We all, I think if you're human, if you're a human being and you're listening to this, we've all had hurt. We've all been hurt. We've all hurt. If you're human and you're listening to this, we've all experienced what one would call or label to be trauma. Painful experiences. There's certainly more or lesser degrees, but I always say, like, if, we were everybody in this room right now, if you were to put my life story, your life story on the table, we probably wouldn't trade. And pain is pain. Loss is loss. Grief is grief. Sadness is sadness. I think that's actually the unifying space in this human experience. That's where we all meet. Mm-hmm. And it looks different. And yes, there's tragedies, there's extreme circumstances, and there's people that rise up out of those circumstances and for their own evolution, for their own freedom. I don't know, I'm projecting right now why one is choosing to let go of those extreme circumstances, but people do.
Right.
And we do I think there's a higher calling within.
This is a conversation. If you have clicked on this, mm-hmm. It's because you might be willing to say, there's something I have to let go of. Mm. I think it's important to make the distinction between varying levels of trespasses or, in a culture that is very much like there's a victim and there's a villain. Mm. I'm sensitive to that. And also, let's zoom out, because if we're so lucky to be sitting in this place where we can sit comfortably and know that with 99% certainty, no one's going to bomb our roof right now. Mm-hmm. There's people in this world right now that cannot say that. Mm-hmm. And so there's levels of transgressions. Is everything forgivable? Mm-hmm. And what does that look like? And how does that sit with you? So you're better at this than me. I'm asking the questions here, but I would love to know how you even frame that up for people.
Gosh, here's what I recognize is that there are those that choose to let go of even in the most extreme circumstances. And I think, a commonality is recognizing once again that, we're all in this human experience. We've all been victim and the villain. We've all been hurt. We've all hurt. We've all been conscious. We've been unconscious. We've all been kind and cruel in a moment, not even meaning to be. But when we're in survival mind or we're angry or we're disconnected from our nature, we can all do lousy things as human beings. And that has an impact. We were just having a conversation just when we came in here about the notion of cancel culture and how there's, I don't know, just it's I can't think of the word. It's not acceptability, but there's an allowance, I suppose, for, it's like we look at children and say, hey, don't bully, that's not nice. And yet there's an allowance in, on in the space or the atmosphere of social media to be at times unkind or to say cruel things. And that's interesting. That's a reflection of mind. That's a reflection. You could call it lower mind. You can call it fear. You can call it ego. And so we all have both, not even both, but all perspectives, I suppose, within us.
I love how you took it human. And I think that's almost, to me, it's
Yes.
like the first pillar or the first like Roman numeral 1 for me on forgiveness is like our humanness.
Yes.
Everyone is human. Everyone's going to mess up. And so in the moments where we're either asking for forgiveness and need to forgive ourselves, when we feel that overwhelming sense of guilt or shame or like, man, I did this again. Okay, I'm a human. And also, if you're feeling so enraged at someone, even then it's like, this person's a human and I have been so dizzied up in my mind that I've done some pretty terrible things in a moment.
Yes.
So to me, it's like humanness. And we've talked about this on a previous episode too. It's like making it someone's identity and separating behavior and someone's actions from that's who they are. And because once it's like that person is
Yes.
then it's hard to pull apart and offer forgiveness. But what do you think? How do you do it?
Well, you actually said something really profound. It's identity. And so, it's a larger identity of recognizing, yes, the humanness, our innocence below the behavior, not knowing what an individual, what their life experience was or what
Right.
you know what I mean? The context, because I think context invokes compassion.
You're so compassionate that you use the word innocence. I think for someone who's like innocence below the action, I offer the context below the action, the origin, the person's personal history, their references. We have
Yes.
no idea what has happened
No.
in that person's life and why then. You mentioned before, I think it's such a beautiful phrase in the conversation is hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And so, boom, on the surface, there's this behavior, there's this action that seems atrocious. And then, like you said, if you were to read their life story, would you
Yes.
trade your card for their card?
Yes.
Often.
Often not. Or if you were to read their life, or if you were to live their life story, possibly you would have the same actions. And I find that really fascinating. And I think that's sometimes that's missed. And culturally or innocently, I don't know culturally, but I guess as human beings, we have this notion of, we want this perfect spouse or this perfect politician or this perfect minister or the perfect whatever. And it's like, I don't know that human.
As if that exists. Right.
Interesting.
Right.
And yet we expect human beings innocently not to be human. And I think like there's something there. And so that's where if I think of when you ask me how it's recognizing if somebody's treating me, whatever, if they're having a poor day or they're saying whatever, if you have acceptance that we're all human, it's their conditioned states of life, and that looks different for all of us. And I think life is offering us an opportunity of this fortuitousness. I don't even know that that's the right word, but an opportunity to complete, because when we push away or we resist or we externally judge and demonize, by the way, I've done that. We all have. And continue to, we catch ourselves. This isn't about being, once again, perfect. It's about recognizing, gosh, where do I constrict? Where do I open? And the awareness of what the two feel like.
If you go back to what you just said there, resist or open. I love how you put, like when I think of forgiveness, in my head, it feels a little black and white on the upfront, like, someone is it an apology, or it gets black and white. But I love, even just as we talk about this, when you're saying resistance or openness, it's more nuanced than that. Forgiveness, like as soon as I feel myself closing or resisting someone, something,
Yes.
a past event, then I realize I'm out of forgiveness, or I'm out of I'm in a different realm than compassionate.
And me too. Me too in moments, right? We all go to that place. But you said something, I think true forgiveness, I saw forgiving. I saw somebody like break up the word. And so it's like, if you're forgiving, We have all these ego, by the way.
That someone, by the way, was your husband.
Okay,
Tony Robbins says that all the time.
Okay, well, that's just
forgiving. He'll often Tony's not here today because he has to record. He's a guest on some podcasts today, so he was unable to join us in studio.
I've had the privilege to watch Tony not only on stage or for example, when he's interacting with an audience or in an intervention with an individual. What I recognize by knowing him off stage and on stage is those moments are possible because he continues to do his inner work. He continues to his vulnerability to in that place of humbleness to apologize or to open his heart and be like, frick, honey, I'm so sorry. I so missed here in this moment. The generosity of that state. Just for the gentlemen that are, tuning in and listening right now, it's just beautiful to notice because the generation before, a lot of times, they weren't shown how, and so there was misperceptions or projections that a masculine man possibly doesn't humble himself or open himself to really share his deepest heart with tears and vulnerability. That's not been my experience. And I love that part of Tony. Mm-hmm. And I really recognize that, who he is and what he offers on stage is because he shares his misses. He shares his humanness. He shares his life experience. He shares his learned experience. And we are all a container of it all. And so anyways, Tony wasn't able to be with us here now, but just sharing, because both men and women and, it's human. It's beyond a role. It's beyond a gender. It's beyond anything. It's human. And he's just a really wonderful representation of that.
If you've ever been to an event, you may have heard Tony Robbins offer someone, when someone often says, I can't forgive this person,
yes.
A brother, a sister, a father, a mother, yes. A friend, a partner, he'll often say, are you forgiving? Mm-hmm. Are you pro-giving? Mm. That's what it is. You're giving someone grace. You're giving someone the benefit of the doubt that yes. They were having a lapse in judgment. They were having a human moment.
Mm. And that's merciful. It's compassionate. It's kind. And for myself, I forgive because I've been forgiven. Mm. And I know what that feels like to experience somebody's grace, to experience somebody's allowance or acceptance. Because if you think about it, if we accept people, forgiveness comes or the expectation that, and by the way, this isn't for forgiveness of what we're speaking about. It's our own inner work. This isn't, you have to say sorry to me, because then there's a hook. There's an expectation in that. And that gets really weird, So we've all been unconscious. And once again, we take it right back to that universality of the humanness. And no matter where we come from, we have all missed.
Yep. And we will all miss again.
Of course, every day.
I will not live the rest of my life without needing someone else's grace and forgiveness. I'm certain of this one thing.
But what you just said is really beautiful. Without needing another's, like we're all connected. We're all connected, and it hurts to separate ourselves from life. It hurts to separate ourselves from another. And, this happens in our families. This happens with our brothers and sisters. This happens with our parents.
Yeah.
This happens in our workspace,
Yeah.
We get mad at somebody, or we think that somebody said something that a certain way or a certain tone of voice, or they were mean, or they were this. And, once again, they're being human.
Right.
And so when you accept people the way they are, the same way I think we probably all actually long to be accepted, is just for all of the totality of who we are, the goodness, the love, the mess of it,
right.
The unkind parts is as much as the kind, because we can all be both. And so as we recognize that within inside of ourselves, I think that's where forgiveness comes from, at least for myself. It's like, flip, maybe I haven't done that in this moment, but yeah, and so from that space, it creates an understanding, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we'd go here this early.
Is that so?
But because you said like the humanity of it and the mess of it and the story of it, I am compelled to ask our audience, if anybody has seen the show, Baby Reindeer. It's been number one on Netflix for a while.
Yes.
So I know some of you have seen it. Tony and Sage and I recently binged on this series. And before we talk about the show, because not everyone has seen it, although this is a pop culture phenomena right here, Baby Reindeer. I usually have my phone beside me and I'll Google it, but we can put it on after. Basically, it is a series on Netflix.
Yes.
This Scottish, I believe, comedian who wrote and created and then stars in this Netflix series. His name is Richard Gadd.
Yes.
He plays a struggling, want-to-be stand-up comedian, artist, looking to be discovered. So, of course, like all actors and comedians often do, have a day job. And so for him, it's working in a bar. And without giving away any of the show, the first scene, if it were taking place in a playhouse, would be a woman comes into the bar and he offers her a drink on the house. Looks like she needs it. Looks like she's been having a day. And that sets the scene for quite an interaction between these human beings. Their lives get very much entangled and enmeshed in one another's in ways that their own innocence and everything else present themselves at times. And we see flip-flops of like aggression and affection and real life things as it happens.
Yes.
What do you think?
Absolutely. An obsession and forgiveness and inquiring about oneself and am I this, am I that, all these labels and identities. And, life has its way with all of us. And they were two beautiful and poignant because they were extreme examples.
The acting is extraordinary.
Yes, it's really special.
And why it's relevant to me, I think it's beautifully written. I think we had like family chat time after this series completed because it is one of those that will make you think about life and the human experience. And it's one of those things where you're like, you think you have the character pegged and then you learn something about them and then that just opens up this whole loop. How lucky we are to see that play out in a well-written series, but that's life. Like that's inspired by true life events.
Yes.
Google it. There's a little bit of a debate about that right now, but this is our life.
It is. And since we're speaking about Baby Reindeer, I really enjoyed every moment of it. And what I enjoyed was the human portrayal. And, I was watching and I'm like, okay, stalker. Have I been stalked? Have I stalked? Absolutely. I'm a total stalker. If somebody doesn't answer the phone, I'll call back 100 times to get the outcome. Walking, I don't remember the main character. What's his name?
Richard Gadd is who created
Richard Gadd, who was just so brilliant and so masterful. He was portraying his own life, his own experience, but we look at these circumstances as this thing happened to me